EdibleSpirit Hour.
Greetings, everyone. Greetings and salutations, and welcome to this, the Edible Spirit Hour. We are here, we are together, Michael Dimitrevich, and all of the spirits that comprise this delicious collective of which you are, in fact, a part. Welcome to this show dedicated to the delicious and the divine, the edible and the spiritual, and especially to healing ourselves, others, and to the magical healers that comprise this world, that are all around us, and sometimes even hiding within us. We welcome you here. If you are healing or a healer, usually we're some combination of both of those, you are very welcome here. You're very welcome here even if you're not healing, even if you're fucking over it. We're going to talk about that because, as you know, we like to start every week with what we call the F Me Update, which is a little combination of astrology and gastronomy. We bring you something magical and something delicious, something cosmic and something terrestrial. Let's see, what shall we start with? Oh, P.S. If you want a reading, stick around and join us in the Zoom room. You can find the Zoom room at ediblespirit.com. Scroll down to the Edible Spirit Hour, and there's a little link that will say join the Zoom room if you want a reading with Edible Spirit or with our amazing guest who we have tonight, the illustrious and very sensuous being that is Diva Zappa is with us tonight. We're so excited to have them here. We'll bring them in a bit, but we're gonna dive into the F Me Update because we have some shifts and changes and some good news and, you know, some new news. We'll see what we can see for you. Okay, so I just have a little bit of notes here for you. Okay, so the major stuff to remember is that Mercury is direct as of the 20th, right? Mercury has stationed direct as of Saturday, February 20th. The sun is also in Pisces now, no longer in Aquarius. So all this energy of tons of planets in Aquarius, 3 days around Mercury retrograde are usually the most intense, the storm phase of Mercury, catching up to slowing to a stop and then turning around and going forward. Coinciding with those 3 days, on the 17th was Saturn square Uranus. Saturn in Aquarius, square Uranus in Taurus, okay? The planet of order versus the planet of revolution, squaring off at odds with the planet of freedom and the planet of revolution and uprising and all these different energies that, you know, are happening, whether you're, you know, protesting or having an actual uprising or literally like crawling out of your skin, wanting to jump out. That's Uranian energy. And then the Saturnine energy is the energy that's sort of keeping you in place in order to learn your lessons and deal with what you got to deal with. Saturn's also in Aquarius. So it's sort of like the grandpa of all of the Aquarian energy that Mercury retrograde kind of took us through. So to simplify, it's had this kind of feeling of like, we've been calling it almost like a nightmarish tunnel of love, this Mercury retrograde, like a tunnel of love / hellscape, where you are like going around these different, on a very like slow tour of all of the things that you need to look at so that you can check them at the door, you know, before, as we move into the next chapter of our lives, right? As there's all these shifts happening, right? We're even approaching before long, right? The next season is spring, the equinox later in March. So big shifts afoot. Complication from Saturn square Uranus last week, leading to Mercury stationing direct yesterday. Another couple days of like the worst part of Mercury retrograde, all the complications kind of lining up. So if you've been, you know, if you've been waiting to have a conversation, you might end up having it now, or might be good to have it now, or you might end up having it now, even if you don't want to. So it's sort of like whatever's tangled up in the retrograde kind of pops out of itself over the course of the next couple of days, you know, after it stations direct in the storm phase, and then takes another few weeks to really finish working out, learning, massaging all these different details. So Mercury direct is a big deal. We're also heading to the full moon in Virgo on the 27th, so about a week from now. We'll talk more about that next week, but just know that that's coming in. And Virgo full moon has this energy of like wanting to get everything snatched and in order and to create elegant, delicious systems, or to have like the Virgo light shine itself on everything that you've got going so that you can see what is elegantly systematized or what needs maybe a little bit more organization, details. So sharing personally, we've used this Mercury retrograde to really unpack all of these things connected to structural integrity. What is giving us structural integrity, supporting structural integrity? What is not supporting structural integrity? And really just using the retrograde to sort of take all these things apart. My feeling right now is like I want to put everything I've learned to work and like get it all snatched. And it's like I could try to do that, but the idea is that it's really not going to work very well, you know. But it'll work a lot better by the time we get to that Virgo new moon in about a week. So it's worth it to like start thinking about how to get things in order. But it's almost like that Virgo full moon will be the best time to kind of get down to brass tacks. So I would say, like, you know, wear like a sleeveless hoodie or like a sleeveless sweatshirt where, you know, you're trying to figure out what needs to be a little more snatched and a little more organized, but you're still letting the sort of tunnel of love automated process of, you know, the Mercury retrograde stationing direct reveal to you kind of what you can't take with you, or what it is that needs to be brought into greater alignment, or brought into, you know, not just conscious awareness, because Virgo, yes, it brings awareness to what's in alignment and what's out of alignment. So it's almost like you might get glimpses of what needs to be preserved and what needs to be trimmed and excised. But by the time we get to that 27th Virgo full moon, it's like, whoa, there's going to be just like I think a lot more clarity and agency and potency about that feeling of kind of getting to work and making it work smoothly and all that stuff. We have not been feeling that sense of everything working kind of smoothly for this past week. Some good news also is that on the 26th, Jupiter is trining the North Node, which is just, I'm not going to go into it too deep, but it's just expansion into purpose, and kind of like an expansion beyond confinement and into purpose. So good time later in the week, and as you get to that Virgo space of how does my routine need to be snatched, or what needs to be organized, it's a great, or what needs to be given greater order. It's a wonderful time to also just think about what's your big picture, what's your purpose, why are you here, what are you doing here, what do you feel called to, you know, and maybe trim stuff from the routine that is not in ideal alignment with the sort of greatest hopes and dreams you have for yourself and for humanity. Okay. Speaking of hopes and dreams, would love to share something super delicious with you in the form of the snacks that we made this week. Okay, let's see, sharing a screen with the snacks. Okay, first and foremost, we had buttermilk in the house, but actually not a lot of butter. So we wanted to make scones and biscuits and all sorts of things, but we ended up making a pound cake that was basically like a little too big for her britches. She was yummy with buttermilk, vanilla, little lemon zest. But yeah, I think I put her in too small of a pan because she sort of overflowed and alighted and hung her edges over the edges. But why I wanted to show this to you is that this part around where it hung over the lip tasted exactly like a glazed cruller donut, like a cake cruller, as opposed to like the French cruller that's all flaky. Oh man, was it good. Okay, in addition, we have, this was this lovely tagine that I made with chicken thighs, green olives, lemons. I didn't have preserved lemons, but what I did was I had some old lemons. So I sliced them really thin and kind of browned them in the skillet so they got a little color and depth of flavor on them. And then this is something that my mom used to make all the time when I was a kid, which is peas and corn with a little butter, salt, and pepper, zapped in the microwave. And then over here, some boiled orzo with my grandfather's recipe, boiled orzo with grated pecorino romano and a little bit of brown butter, but he always called it burnt butter orzo. So killer. Anything else? Oh, yeah, that's the top of the pound cake. Not sexy because it wasn't cooking in the middle, so I ended up leaving it in longer than I wanted to. Thumbprint cookies, biatches. Oh, Gaia, they were so good. With pollen all fruit, strawberry, raspberry, and chocolate. There's no pollen or all fruit chocolate, but it was Ghirardelli little chocolate dots in the middle. Man, thumbprints, classic. Eleganza, so good. So that's your FB update. Aquarius, Mercury retrograde, approaching the full moon, so much deliciousness. If you want a reading from Edible Spirit, go to ediblespirit.com. We can book a reading for another day. But if you want a reading tonight, you better jump in the Zoom room. Okay. Some people lining up. So if you want a reading, you better jump in soon so we can get to you. But super, super excited to welcome our guest, who is an artist, a healer, a reader extraordinaire, throws them cards like nobody's business. The extraordinary, the magical Diva Zappa. We're going to welcome Diva to the Edible Spirit Hour. Let's see. Come on in. Greetings.
Hello.
Welcome to the Edible Spirit Hour.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
Me freaking too. Super, super grateful for this Aquarian era connection that you and I, who met just like chilling and doing our thing on Larchmont Boulevard.
Yep.
Here we are now connected by the digitalis, by the digital ethers, all the way across the country. And I'm just so excited to be able to not only just share you with the viewers, but also to be able to just dig a little deeper and ask a few questions and just get into some things that make you tick. So thank you for coming on the show.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. Let's do this.
First thing we always do is we start with just a little moment that's called How Are You Healing? Where we want to know really, it's like 6 of one, half dozen the other. Do we start with how are you healing yourself? How are you healing others? I actually have some questions for you. I know you do readings. I know you make art, but I wanted to actually ask you, how did you start doing readings? I know you work with cards a lot now. Who gave you your first deck? Tell me some origin stories.
So I don't have your typical origin story. I have been reading energy since I was little. My mom, one of her favorite stories to tell me about me when I was little, because everyone loves stories about themselves. But she would always tell me that I would walk into a room and since I was a toddler and I could just tell that something was off, and I would just walk in and say, I love you. And then I'd leave the room. So I've always just had this sense of breaking the energy, shifting it, changing it, bringing light into situations. But I didn't really begin to acknowledge that for myself until after my mom passed away, which was 6 years ago now. But so like I always kind of knew I've always been aware of things, but I didn't appreciate the depth to which my gifts lie. And because I'd always just read for friends or connect with people that I already knew. So I didn't really know that I knew more than I know, except I did, if that sentence makes any sense.
It makes 100% sense. I have a really good friend who's been doing readings for medium and psychic readers, been reading for a long time, who says, yeah, I thought I was smart, thought I was real smart when I was a kid. Turns out I'm just psychic. What I like about what you're describing is another little thing I wanted to share was that I wanted to know, do you have an awareness of a clair? Like, do you work with clairsentience now? Do you have an awareness of clairvoyance? Like, do you fuck with the clairs or?
So when I read cards, when I read energy, but when I'm pulling cards, they yell at me. Like they tingle in my hands. I feel everything in my body. So it's not, sometimes I hear words in my head, but I don't necessarily know that I'm hearing things. I feel things. I can sense it in a way. I could probably even smell things. I'm just like, it's very present in me.
Yeah. What if I may be so bold? What the words you're using are textbook clairsentient, because even that idea of smell, clear olfaction, or there's another word for it, but the idea of a psychic sense of clear smelling is usually connected to clairsentience, which is actually confusing for kids sometimes, because the psychic sounding board is not actually your ears, it's actually the physical senses. It's touch, and it's the feeling of things.
Vibrations.
And then the other thing I was going to say is I actually heard a description of empaths, and I think all humans are empaths, so I don't think we can just explain psychic stuff away by empathy, but really active empaths, I always make the distinction between a clairsentient can kind of read a room by feeling the hairs on the back of their neck, or you just feel something's off and you don't necessarily know what it is or how to describe it, but it's like a quantifiable quantity that wants to shift, whereas the empath will feel the emotional density of the room.
Ding, 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 that's me.
And then the other thing about it is that someone told me this, that like empaths will be the ones in a room to sometimes laugh too loud or curse inappropriately, because on the other side of the room, there's an energetic tension that needs to be resolved by you doing something on the opposite side of the room.
Clear it.
It. Exactly.
To balance things out so that everyone can feel comfortable, because otherwise you're just like, it's just hanging in the room. You're like, what? No one's doing anything about it. Like, it's like a bad fart.
It's true.
Like,
it's true. Interestingly enough, too, someone once told me that that ability of knowing something is up in a space and your intuition telling you something's going on, if that ends up getting repeatedly denied, it's actually a tremendous contributor to body dysmorphia. It makes it hard for a person to know what they look like or what's real or what's unreal, because that knowing, that pure knowing of a child gets compromised somehow. So, but it sounds like you were at least like it was acceptable for you to kind of be moving between the worlds, even if you didn't know it. But then you say you only really discovered the depth of it when you lost your mom, or when your mom transitioned.
Because I had a very interesting relationship with my mother, which everyone does. They have their own. But she was a very strong witch, strong, powerful woman in general. And just like, it was, when I was with her, it just felt like it was her way. And so I took a seat. I took a step back, and which also helped me hone my skills of awareness, because I could read better. Like, I sat back so I understood more in a way. And now I'm not able to sit back. Now my job is to be in it and to take charge and become who I've always have been meant to become in my strength, in my senses, in my awareness, and my power. And it's daunting, but I'm doing it and it's awesome. But yeah, so that's a little bit about me.
That's amazing. So what was your first deck? That's the one thing I wanted to know.
Oh, I don't know. So I don't like, it's not, I also don't believe in sorry people, I don't believe that you have to be given it or gifted a deck in order for it to mean something. That's such a, it closes off so many other doors and so many connections that you can have with a deck that is just, that you find.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So I started reading tarot on whatever decks I could find in the house. And there were tons of them because my mom had a bunch.
Right.
There's the Aleister Crowley, deck. There, like the traditional Rider-Waite, Smith Rider-Waite. And so when I started really reading the reason why I read cards, let's do that.
Yeah.
My friend Molly needed an actress who could read tarot, and I'd read her tarot before, and like I would read for friends and I know them. So I thought that I just knew them.
Right.
And so this was the perfect opportunity. She hired me to play a part for an immersive game where people would play and they'd have to find the tarot reader, get a clue from her, and go on with the game. So I was able to be in a situation, like how often do you get given this perfect storm where there are no expectations and you have free reign to literally say anything that comes to your mind, have that freedom where there's no expectations from anybody at the table.
Totally.
So there was such freedom to discover who I was and the depths of my power with this and my connection to it, because I all I had to do was say a weird sentence that could fit anywhere. And so I ended up just giving real readings because nobody knew otherwise. And it was incredible. So I'm reading for complete strangers and they're in tears and they're like, oh my God. And like all of these changes happen for them. And I realized, like, as I've been doing this, I realized the way that I read cards, I read the energy and then I help shift things for you so that you can move forward. I confirm what you already know is going on. I help you become more aware and connected to yourself so that you can do the things that you want to do. Like, I don't tell your future. I just tell you what, as a stranger, what the cards want to share with you, what I'm seeing, so that you have the tools to move forward.
I like this idea, though, that you're describing these sort of balancing processes, though, and that idea of it's very transmutational and alchemical, where I'll describe to students sometimes that it's like, if you get a message, whether it's from a card or from a clair or from a tool of whatever kind, if you get a message and you don't deliver that message, it doesn't go away. It keeps sort of boop, 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 boop. And then once the energy shifts, it's almost like you said before, it clears, and now it's cleared, and now we can talk about something else, But that even that, I think that's just the way that sometimes a lot of readers will feel it. But the way I understand that is that whatever is off, or whatever perception is off, or whatever dynamic is locked up, just that little bit of thook, ideally coming from the client, not coming from you, coming from the readee. It has to come from the person.
Yeah, in order for the change to happen, the person receiving the information has to have it click.
Boop.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, beautiful. And I love that too. Well, this actually brings me to another question, which is about art, but we'll get there in a second. With art, one of the things that I realized was that, like, if you shift we met at Paolo Carlotto's store on Larchmont in Alegria Bazaar, where if you shift the setting of the way these readings are given or spiritual messages are relayed into something that's not so like ding, 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 like not so highly dramatic or esoteric, I find it really does change the way that people are able to receive it, and how we can offer it too, just fucking with set and setting.
I love it.
Okay, so my other question for you is, they might end up relating, but during this time, during any time, not just during a pandemic and such, but like, how do you take care of yourself? What parts of your practice support you? What has been a go-to during pandemic or at any other time?
So, well, that's a big question. I don't know how I take care of myself. I've had to learn to do things because of this pandemic, which has been as hard as this year has been, as hard as 2020 has been, and continuing into 2021. I've seen all of this as a blessing, like, as difficult. And I'm not saying it hasn't been, and it has definitely been excruciating for many and devastating in so many ways. But it's a big reset. It's really like the universe has taken us all and said, hey, no one here is taking the time that they need to figure out what's truly important. Like, nobody is slowing down. Everybody is continuing to speed up, and you guys are all going to burn out. So we're going to the universe gave us a little helping hand in slowing stuff down, in giving us all perspective. And it's been a journey and a beautiful, difficult experience to learn how to first of all, I was so nervous when lockdown started that I was never going to have a vegetable again. I was like, what's going to happen? How am I going to eat? So I found like, I do like a shake in the morning now, and I have like vegetables in this thing. And like, there's little, like little things that I discovered that actually help me feel healthier and actually bring a smile to my face. And the more things that I can do that, like, take myself for a walk, I've not been that physical before, and like, consistently, let's say. It's really interesting what things arise when you're in situations.
Right before the pandemic started, I was just going through this space of really reflecting on particularly Los Angeles, not hating on LA because I love LA, but on what was inharmonious about my presence in LA. And what I realized is that it's a space, and as is, I think it's just a symbol of the rest of the country and even the world, where this idea of hustle and side hustle and 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different hustles while you're running all these different things, it's like so socially acceptable that I just experienced, like, suddenly when all of my social connections and opportunities were cut off, I was like, whoa, I have so much energy left if I'm not hustling. And the idea of hustle that I realized before pandemic is like, hustle is about selling something for more value than it's worth. A little bit like trying to get away with something, like, oh, I better just keep doing these like 6 or 7 or 10 other different things. And if someone buys it, like, yeah, awesome. Like, I'm going to get them and I'm going to get the money. I'm going to hustle and all this stuff. It's like, you can feel what that does to your nervous system.
I want to tell you that I hate you right now.
Right?
I hated that. I hated that experience of hearing your story. I hate it. And that makes me realize, like, no wonder I've been looking to move to France and like buy a castle and get out of here. Like, it's like,
well, but here's a cool thing though, is that we did right before when we were. No, you don't have to do it, but I just want to tell her you're watching that Nicole La Liberté, who was on the show a couple months ago, she gave us this vagus nerve resetting exercise where theoretically, Diva, what that thing's supposed to do is take the nervous system that everybody has been working with that's so high strung and just go,
yeah.
And yet, in terms of balance, when that happens, what shit comes squirting out?
Right. So I don't know if you know this, but I studied with Judith Lassiter, who is like the best restorative yoga teacher ever.
Yeah. Cool.
So I got to actually assist her a couple of times. She's amazing. She's actually one of the people in my life who validated how I see the world, because I didn't know, I didn't see it like everybody else. And the way that she explained energy, like, I can see that in bodies. Like, I just didn't know that that's what I was seeing and like what I was doing. And she sees it similarly, or the way she explained it to me, I was like, wow, we're the same.
I know what you're talking about. Wow.
Yeah, it was super cool. But I like, to go with your vagus nerve situation, it brought something up in me. Like, I don't even know what that was. Like, something was like it unraveled something, but I do restorative anyway. So I'm already in this, what I thought I was chiller than I actually am, considering I did that thing. And I was like, what is this thing down there?
I think it's really cool because, it's to me, I love, my first yoga teacher was very restorative. She refused to let us straighten our legs in like any pose. She made us do everything with bent knees. And it was so great because it was the first yoga classes that I'd ever taken. And that opened me up very much to this restorative idea. And I think the thing of it is that like restorative will put you into these spaces where you can have these releases. But if something's stuck in a loop, if there's like a belief or an unconscious pattern or something that's been there for a really long time, it's almost like you would need to be in that space that you get to at the end of a really powerful yin or restorative class for like a long fucking time.
Well, that's what her classes are, by the way. Like, the way that she taught me to be restorative is, in an hour class, we might just do 3 poses.
Oh,
I know, it's magical. I'll have to do a session with you. I mean,
I
it's
would.
weird over online, but we'll figure something out.
No, I love it. I'm obsessed. Well, because it's based on this idea too, that if you don't do horribly unnatural things to the body, mind, and spirit, the body, mind, and spirit do actually know how to heal themselves.
We do. We just think we don't. We keep
Exactly.
going like elsewhere than the deeper we can go within, the more we can heal ourselves. Like that's what our bodies do. We just don't ever give ourselves the time to do it. That's what 2020 was about. Like we were all given the time to really fucking figure shit out and begin to heal the stuff we never wanted to look at because we kept ourselves busy.
Totally.
For as not busy as I have been, like I thought I was like a really chill, not busy person, and I still had to do like some work.
For real. And I realized that too over the last year, where I was like, it doesn't actually matter if I don't identify as a traumatized person. If I'm behaving like a traumatized person, it means I'm traumatized.
Yes. Yes.
Sometimes it gets overwhelming. So, or it gets confusing. I think that's what's so interesting about it. And so this was going to be another question I was going to ask for you. What do you think the tarot, which you love and work with? Oh, what decks do you work with now? Let me ask that first.
Oh, and my friend Melinda Lee Holmes, she created the most amazing. Do you love her? She's
well, I'm gonna text her tomorrow to see if she'll come on the show.
She's literally my bestie. I love her so much. She made the most beautiful, inclusive tarot deck. It's all about the elements. There aren't any people in it. It's the way that she described it when she was making it and writing it and it brings me to tears. It is honestly one of the most truly inspiring and opening deck I've ever worked with. And I jump around. And so I just started working with this one in October because that's when it came out. Wow. And it literally is so profound because it opens the door for you to really learn and understand the elements. It talks about things in terms of earth, air, fire, water, and then to think about how those apply, and then how those actually intertwine into like king, queen, knight, page, how those combinations of elements are involved. It's so beautifully done, and really, honestly, it opens every time I use the deck, it opens so many doors for me of enlightenment within myself and understanding of my environment. I feel truly more connected and a deeper understanding to so much more because of these cards.
And that's so great. That's so great. I love. Is that the one that has the mushrooms on it?
The Hanged Man is mushrooms. Yeah.
Is mushrooms. Nice.
Yeah. Okay. It's a radical change of perspective.
I think it's interesting. The first deck that I ever used was the Blake deck, which was, I'm just very much vibing with what you have. I bought it, but I feel like the deck literally found me through eBay, where I was like, I don't know what this is, but I'm totally drawn to it. And it picked me and I brought it, and it was just left of center because all of it was man, woman, child, angel. But even nowadays, I look at it and I'm like, why can't they all be angels? I don't want them to be man, women, and children. Why binaries? So I love that idea that the elements kind of depersonalize it in a way and take the human element of it out of it, but it's not actually the human element. You're sort of more so affirming the earthy, elemental, energetic elements of it.
It helps you identify things more clearly without what is it when you just decide what something is,
right, without the thingness of it. I'm thinking of just that idea of the Queen of Cups is a woman with flowing brown hair, from old school Rider-Waite. No,
hang on, let me see if I can find it, one of her. So this is a page.
Oh, wow. Oh, that reminds me of her jewelry.
Yeah. That's a page. Hang on. They're so amazing. Here, this is a queen. This is the Queen of Swords.
Wow. Oh, that's beautiful.
And you know that it's a queen because queens are ruled by water.
Uh-huh.
And it's the card is a sword, so you know that it's air. So it's water of air.
The water of air. I love that.
And to think of the Queen of Swords as water of air, your whole environment changes. Like if you took the traditional Rider-Waite deck, Smith Rider-Waite, I can't speak. I'm drinking alcohol. It's fine. Cheers. I made an old fashioned and had 2 sips and already can't
well
speak.
done. And look at your ice cube. Hey, we are on the Edible Spirit Hour. We are food and beverage friendly. Cheers, babe.
Delicious Hudson whiskey. Yes. Okay. So what was I saying? Oh yeah. So if you took the traditional Smith Rider-Waite deck and the imagery of the Queen of Swords, she's sitting perched on her throne with her sword straight up and waiting to listen, and like she's open, and it gives you so many other visuals to think of, like the sword. Is she gonna slice you? What, like, there's not necessarily, but like there's so many things. What
I was trying to remember. I was like, I know there's another deck that's about the watery part of air and the this and the that and the other thing. And I was like, what fucking deck is it? I know you could read it into any deck. You could probably use Melinda's deck to deepen your awareness of other decks and like how these things work together. But I kept just seeing the Crowley and how annoying it is that it's like, how lovely it is that it's like they have the astrological sign and like a thing, but how the face cards are all like decans of the sign, and it's like the first 10 degrees of this and that. Too complicated for me. But I remember they're the Tattwa cards. So they're these cards, 25 cards that are based on the elements of classical Hindu philosophy. And I think they're out of print, but they're squares. And the idea is they have a symbol for air, and then inside of it will be a symbol for earth, and another card, a symbol for fire, water. And the idea is that you stare at these cards until they burn the image into your cortex, so that when you close your eyes, you see the cards in relief. So you see like the opposite colors of the cards. And each one of these is meant to attune you to the watery part of air, the fiery part of water. I mean, totally. That's like, what's the sound of one hand clapping? Like, what is the fiery part of water?
Well,
it's deeply meditative.
It is, but to me, that's the flow, like in the way that it moves through. Yeah,
the molecules like frictioning off of each other in such an exquisitely,
or it's the fiery part of water is when it starts to evaporate.
Like
just, yeah.
Oh, I love this. Too delicious. So I'm feeling, I actually wonder, I want to offer you a reading. Would you like a reading today from me?
I will never say no to you.
Okay, good. But I wonder, I kind of want to switch it up tonight, and we have someone that's waiting to take a call. So before we do your snack time, which is our little reading room moment, let's actually take her call. Are you down to do that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, let's bring him in. Let's see who this is and say, welcome Irono to the Edible Spirit Hour. Let's see if they're around. Let's just start. So we'll see if they can come in if they have a question, and then we will go from there. Yeah, I was starting to feel the zhuzh. Okay, they're gonna start video later, so it seems like they maybe don't want to do this. Yeah, I was starting to feel. Oh, okay. Here, wait. Irono, you got to mute my window over there. Oh, okay. Good. Perfect. Okay, so you want to if you want to come in, dear, you got to turn your camera on and turn off your YouTube window so that you can just come and sit with me and Diva and enjoy. So, hi.
I've never done anything like this before, so.
Oh, this is so exciting.
I'm so glad you came in. Let me just tell you both why we do this, because we aim at Edible Spirit at dismantling binaries and hierarchies. We don't like hierarchies or binaries. And we found that over time, healing, which is a very natural process of being human, is often done in back rooms or in private areas. And a lot of times healers are not given a space to heal or be vulnerable in front of people because they're the ones that need, or that that people think need to know everything, right? So we bring healers onto the show so that they can open up and share themselves. But Irono, is that your name?
No, it's Nori. I don't know.
Nori.
It's my handle.
Welcome, Nori. I love it. So the idea, Nori, is that when you click this little button and come onto this freaking crazy construct of a show, you never know who's going to hear what you're going through, or what a question that you have, or something that Diva or I share with you, how that's going to land with someone else. And P.S., we program the show energetically so that if someone does come through, it's also healing for someone else. So just know that as we go about this, it's not just for you, it's for others, okay?
Okay.
So do you have any questions, or is there anything you want to know, or anything you want to ask, or anything you want to get into today? It can be as general or specific as you like.
Well, I've been going through something, like some sort of transformation, some sort of, a lot's been happening over the last few months that have pulled up things like from my past, and there's a lot of overlapping, and there's been a lot of, I wake up every morning thinking like, I can't possibly learn anything else. And then there's like a whole nother thing to learn. And it's been going on for quite some time. I get a lot of messages through my dreams. So I'll wake up in the morning, maybe I don't remember my dream, but I'll have like a clear, something really simple and kind of almost silly, like your past is your past, but it'll just be like this message that I get in the morning. And it kind of makes sense for whatever I'm thinking about. And so I'm in this, and I feel that there's a shift towards, I think I'm working towards something, and I feel like there's a shift that's happening. The energy's getting a little bit more fiery, and instead of being in this very reflective, like feminine, I'm feeling a little bit more like, okay, I think I get to apply maybe some of these things that I'm learning. But there's a part of me is hesitating, almost because the work's been really hard emotionally. I'm hesitant to be excited about what's happening. Like, is it a real shift, or am I making up in my brain? There's some doubt there. So I don't know if that's something we can work with, but that's what I'm thinking about.
I feel you. Diva, you want to jump in here?
Well, I'm wondering if you'd like me to pull a card, but first, also, before I do that, I want you to write a book. I want you to literally write down the little messages that you get every morning that are so simple, and that, like, I want that book.
Okay, they're in here.
There it is.
And
wait, I have to tell you this story. Also, I just had this allergic reaction, so I didn't really want to be on the video because my face is, but whatever.
we love you.
You look great. Don't worry
You look
about
amazing. That. Our guest a couple weeks ago, a lighter blew up in their face right before the show started, and they were like, "I can't do it," and I was like, "It's cool. We're all healing.
You'll be fine." I'm a visual artist, and I have never really written before. And so when all this started happening, I've always written down my dreams, but that's about the extent. Now all this writing and these messages. And the other day I woke up in the middle of the night, I had to move to the couch, and this sentence popped in my head. I think before I went to bed, I was thinking I wanted to learn how to write poetry, but I was like, what does that mean? And then a sentence popped into my head. So I was like, I better write that down. So I wrote it down, kept the lights off because I didn't want to wake myself up. I was trying to go back to sleep. And then I'd lay down again, and another sentence popped up. And basically I wrote a poem.
Wow.
I can't say it's a very good poem, but anyway, I have them all written down, so I can share it with you guys at some point.
That's amazing. All right, so 4 cards have come out. I've been shuffling and pulling cards while you were talking. Oh, this is so rad. Okay, so we have the 4 of Swords. This is about alignment. We have the 8 of Wands. 8s are stability and longevity, because that's also what 4s are. 4s are stability, 8s are longevity. We have the Hierophant. This is amazing. Wow. That is like, I'll get into it. And we also have the 9 of Cups. So I love this. 4, 8, Hierophant, 9. Oh, okay. You are, first of all, writing things down. Swords are about communication and writing, and can be action, the way you think about things. It really feels like you're coming into alignment with connecting your like pen to paper. It just feels like, I know that we were talking about that, but there is a connection for you that is mental, and you need to also see it, because there's this intuition and this fire building that you were just talking about. But like, I'm not making it up that like the cards come out, and like, I know you just said these things, but it is, you have, you're surrendering to your gifts in a way that you haven't before, and it's opening you up to like a deeper sense of a well within you that is so beautiful, and like it's just a beautiful, clear, cool water well of love and support. And the Hierophant, that card traditionally is about learning. It's about discovering who you are and sharing who you are, and going into like, it's teaching, it's finding your teacher. It's also passing along that information. So you are trust yourself, trust what's happening. You are totally learning new things, putting it to good use, using your voice, discovering more the depths of who you are, and what you have to say is going to be shared. Like that's going to help like fill other people's cups. Like the 9 of Cups is matured wisdom in the realm of water. So like, think about how water takes shape and how full, like whatever container you are, you're filling that shape up. And it's like whatever sense of, if you want to be cold water, if you want it to be hot water, whatever makes you cozy, like it's literally like the best warmth or purity, whatever sensation you want to have with it. It's beautiful. Like you're on this journey to really have a full heart, and there's more to come. Like it's not a 10, so it's not like complete joy and like exaltation and like, you know, woohoo, because that 10s are completion. So there is more for you to keep learning, which is a good thing. Like I think that learning is growth, and I never ever want to have, like, I like 10s. I think they're great. I enjoy them when they're here, but I honestly prefer just a little less, because like I like to stay.
Even 9 of Swords, 10 of Swords, because 9 of Swords is like, no, it's actually as bad as it seems, and like 10 of Swords.
No, but not with Melinda's deck. Melinda's deck has changed your view on the 3 of Swords, the 9 of Swords, the 10 of Swords. She changed the view on all of the swords, because she hated. Well, I'm not speaking for her. I don't know that she hated it. Like there's a definite resistance to like, why are the cups so loving and like awesome in all of the imagery, right. And but if you have like a 10 of Cups, it's like party, and then you have a 10 of Swords, it's like death, and you're like, why? They're 10s.
So I love that. How do you, I have something to piggyback, Nori, on Diva's read for you, which I started writing. Ooh, that was an egg that literally just dropped between my legs. So who knows what that means. It was a pyrite egg that just literally rolled off the table and fell between my legs and rolled across the floor. So there's birthing happening. There's birthing happening.
There is.
I thought I was bringing that egg for you, Diva, to just be like, this is my thing that I wanted to share with you today. But no, that's for you, Nori. Okay. But then here's the other thing. So I tune into the Edible Spirit Collective, to the guides there, and I say, okay, what do we need to know? If Nori were a snack, what snack would she be? And I get an image of a lucite breakfast tray, flawlessly clear, right? Needs to be wiped down, but the message is that it's literally made to be clear. Like you're made to do this. But I vibe with what Diva's saying, is that you're encountering new gifts. And before we even got into the reading, I wrote down, I think Nori's having clairaudient awakening, right? So difference of visual artists, very clairvoyant, sees things, remembers the images of dreams, as opposed to textbook clairaudience is a snippet, a whisper. And when you write down one thing, you get the next thing. But there's a sort of faith process that has to go along, or a trust process with your guides, where if you got the whole thing all at once, maybe you would be like, oh, that's just bullshit, that's my imagination. But there's this sense of, this is coming through me. This poem is being written through me, but it's not necessarily mine, right? And I think, you know, writers throughout antiquity have spoken about listening to the muses in that way. And just so for what it's worth, to tie it to a clairaudient awakening, I agree. It's like, if you have clairaudient awakening, that would be my shorthand to say, you need to be writing something. So I love that Diva was like, the book, and you're like, this is the book. We got it right here, it's going on. But then the final thing that I have here is, as Diva was showing you the Hierophant, my eye went right to the fox. So I ran over to huh?
It's a cat.
It's a cat?
It's a cat.
Oh,
But
well.
you thought it was a fox. Go with your
I thought it was a fox, so it was a fox for today. So I looked up fox medicine just on the Google alert, you know, and fox medicine says that it's about protecting the family, and that it is about, you know, providing and protection. And so I was connecting that dot as sort of like this wisdom that I agree with you completely, Diva. You have more to learn about. What are these things that are happening? You know, it can be sort of unstable when you go from a visual sense that you really rely on to an awakening that there's an oral, auditory sense that's waking up in you that is really useful both to, and what I wrote down here is that it will help you get a verbal understanding of your work and your purpose, as opposed to just that intuitive or more visual understanding. And so final thing about the breakfast tray is that it's a lucite breakfast tray that's meant to be served, polished, prepared, and served, not psychotically, because it's not silver. So there's no tarnish on it. It's lucite. I was like, guys, why is it lucite? And they're like, this tray is made to be served. And you, my dear, are the tray. You are a tray that's for breakfast. So someone said to me about a week ago too, planning a meal, like, people don't often plan sex. They think it's boring and tedious, but planning sex can be exciting, because if you're going to Dallas BBQ on Friday, right, you might get excited. I'm gonna have a margarita, I'm gonna have ribs, I'm gonna do whatever I'm gonna do, you know. But the idea here is that, like, it's okay to respond to timing organically and to ask yourself, what does it mean for me to polish a lucite tray, if that's what I'm actually doing here, to prepare a breakfast, to walk in somewhere and be like, hey, I got this thing that I want to share with you. And that could be one person, many people, doesn't matter, but just offered in service, that image of the breakfast tray with a beautifully prepared meal on it.
I like that.
Well, thank you. Is there anything you want to share? Anything you want to reflect? Anything else?
It all makes sense.
Yay.
It all makes sense. It's what I was thinking inside anyway. So it's nice to have more confirmation, and I'm just gonna keep going.
That's a metric that I always like to use, especially with energy work, yes, but also with tarot, like that, and Diva was saying this to me earlier too, that like, I think a lot of times there's a standard placed on tell me something I don't know, when really the most transformative readings can be when someone affirms or confirms something that you suspect but aren't certain of.
Yeah.
Feels good. Okay. Well, thank you, Nori, for coming in. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Nice to meet you.
We'll see you soon. Okay, bye-bye. All right. So that was fun.
That was very fun.
Okay, so we're nearing the end of our hour, wildly enough. I want to offer you, let's just see, if Diva were a snack, what snack would she be? Okay, this is very cute. Okay, this is insane, but I love it. So they show me like a fringe capelet that's made of like childhood macaroni crafts. But inside of each of these crafts, inside of each of these macaroni tubes is a different filling that is very exciting and very unexpected. And what's funny about it is that they show me you with this like, almost like breastplate, kind of like what I'm wearing tonight, you know, like a breastplate, but it's like different macaronis, very innocent, very very childlike, very inner child, very, you know, pre-K, kindergarten, macaroni crafts. But inside are these exquisite pastes and flavors and fillings that squirt, and some are salty and some are sweet. And what they show me is you walking around adorned with innocence. So fully adorned in all of your innocent glory. And what they show me is you picking up one of these strands and just being like, sweet, I look great, I feel great, it's sincere, it's authentic, it's innocent, very youthful, and even better, I am self-sustaining, I travel with my own snacks, I have everything I need. So to me, it's very, this image is also very 360, where like I'm feeling that how this snack that is also a fashion garment wraps around your shoulders and all around you. So I feel like there's a certain kind of message about enveloping yourself in all of these qualities, the nourishment that you need, remembering that the most glorious adornment for you would maybe be less, you know, it's funny, I was gonna say less diamonds and gowns, but no, when I look at diamonds and gowns, it's almost like you never wanna lose the feeling of also playing dress up, right? So it would be like an oversized, absurd gown with like a crazy diamond headpiece, as opposed to like a simple, elegant diamond choker.
Yeah, no, I'm not serious at all.
No.
I am authentically childlike and full of wonderment and whimsy.
But so I think what's interesting about this is that it's a breastplate. So in my practice, that's about presentation, and that's about leading with that, and about also, I'm seeing this as a message about adornment and about the most luxurious adornment and self-expression that you are, according to the spirits, is actually in the innocence, the simplicity. There's a rawness to it too. It's like, you don't need anybody to applaud your macaroni fucking crafts because you made them, you feel great about them. You're like, I'm wearing them, I'm snacking on them. Everything fits together perfectly. And I'm self-sustaining. There's something really, it's almost like your innocence is what sustains you. Interesting. And the magic that's inside, P.S. Because each of these little macaroni crafts things.
I get it. I feel you. I hear you. I get it. And thank you.
Okay. My absolute pleasure.
I love it. I want to do a reading for you.
Amen. Okay. I'm down.
Can I pull a card or two?
Sure. Let's go for it. Yeah,
Right.
no, I'm into it.
Come on. You need to have a card or two. We'll see what they want to say. I want to do like a real reading for you another time when we have like time.
Anytime. Well, honestly, I want to hang out with you. We need to like schedule some FaceTime moments, and then I'll come see you when I can get on a plane.
Yes. All right, hang on. We're doing this properly for a moment. I'm going to do a blessing for you.
Oh, thank you. Beautiful.
They're loud. They're excited. They're loud. Oh my, I have like a sweat chill up my back right now. You know that feeling where you get hot and chilled at the same time?
Oh yeah, electricity in the spine and droplets on the forehead.
Full on.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. No, you're getting, God, stop it. They're really talking. They like all of them want to come out. I'm not going to tell you all of them. It's an overall thing. Okay. So you have, oh, honey. Okay. So you have 2 sevens. You have the 7 of Cups and the 7 of Swords. So that is overcoming doubt in your heart and in your mind, in air, like in emotion and in air. Then we move into the 6 of Cups. So like, that's so beautiful because you know that you have this question that you're dealing with, that you're overcoming in your mind about this emotional situation, and you succeed. Like the 6s are victorious to me. They are triumphant. It's like you get a level up and you get a view of a bigger, like you win the battle this round. You're like, fuck off those noisy things. I'm coming through this fear. I am beating this moment and like really choosing the light, moving forward, and you get a little bit more of a view, a bigger view, like you sit on a horse, like you have that height of a thing. And there's more work to be done, but at least got through that part, which is a fucking victory, a triumph.
And what you're describing is exactly right. And it's been going on for so long, even down to, I've been talking about structural integrity, I've been seeing a chiropractor, and as he's been aligning my spine, all these emotions and doubts and fears come up that have made me compulsive all these years, compulsively working or doing or whatever the hustle that I thought I had to have. It's like the energetics are coming up, and 100,000,000%, I just wanted to confirm, doubt, anxiety. I've been addressing anxiety all fucking week. So it feels really good to be like, cool, we've got this battle on lock. I'm getting some perspective, more work to do. And then?
Yes. And then guess what? The more work that you do, it's actually hanging out, chill for a bit, just quiet, because you know what? There's nothing you can do right now because you've got the Wheel of Fortune. So I don't know if you can see that. Can you see
There's
it?
another fox.
This is a fox, an actual fox. There it is. You got your fox. So there it is. Okay. You have the Wheel of Fortune and the star. Okay.
Oh.
So it's so beautiful. You've got the support that you need. All you have to do is ask, it's there. And with the Wheel of Fortune, things are happening behind the scenes. It's time for you to just kind of take deep breaths and relax and enjoy this moment, this present moment, be here now, and trust the universe to kind of take care of the things that all the loose ends that you may feel that you want to pick at and fuck with. Don't.
Yes. Good to know.
Don't.
Yeah.
Because you're past it. You actually are. Like, you have the support that you need, so you can talk about it and you can like get some hugs and some love and some warmth. But there's no like definitive action you have to take to make it move any faster or do anything else. You've done it.
Thank you. I appreciate that, because this also just connects to what I've been going through and what I think a lot of people have gone through during quarantine and coronavirus, is just this feeling of not realizing how tightly we've been holding until something ever so slightly shifts or something big happens or something opens up. Then it's almost like insulting, because now there's freedom, and yet my body's been so traumatized for so long that it's like, holy shit, I gotta catch up first before I can even take advantage of the freedom, so this week has been really a process for me, just to confirm and affirm, of literally practicing taking deeper breaths and slowing down and noticing what happens when my breath gets short, and just maybe even to some extent like addressing doubts and fears that have kept my breath shallow for 30 plus years.
Right.
So
also your comfort zone, like how that works, how to breathe that way, to take a deep breath. True. That makes you feel more, and like, oh what, like it you feel like it might trigger more, but that you have the space to do it. You can trust your body will not explode if you breathe.
I'm ready. Thank you so much for that wonderful read.
But there's this guy.
Who's this?
That's the Queen of Coins. So you also have the 8 of Cups as well. So the Queen of Coins is water of earth. And I just wanted to tell you, like, the way that it's moving is more into your nurturing side, and this really fully integrating into your body, and like the love and your full heart. Like, you're going to have such longevity and stability through this. You're moving into your own new grounded flow.
Well, and when you say through this, I think it's helpful to share also that, like, when you say through this, I always remind people that healing work is optional, because healing will happen anyway, evolution will happen anyway. But when you want to do shadow work, or like, I'm super Scorpio, right? Like, want to do some transmutation or some inner alchemy, that it's optional. And so what I really feel is, you're talking about the emotional situation, it's literally like, I've undertaken in the last couple weeks a lot of healing processes and growth processes that have triggered all sorts of different stuff. So I really am just hearing you saying, like, this is worth it, and it's totally going to lead to what you think it is going to lead to, but also maybe different things and things you can't even imagine,
Yeah,
so
But also the key right now is to stop doing the work.
Okay. Oh, I love you for that.
Sorry, I mean, it's just like that's the Wheel of Fortune. Like that's blame that one. That's like there's not. It's out of your hands.
Oh my God, I love it. Stop. In this era, somebody just told me to stop doing the work, and I am ready for that. Even
Just
if
in this
pause,
area. I
just
mean,
to
there might be
pause.
other things, but very specific to what we were just talking about.
No.
You have done it.
This is also what I'm actually been unpacking is how the need to do the work of processing and all of the work about white supremacy and racial injustice and misogyny and violence against women and people of color and all of these things that are happening all the time. Like that was work that I was like, oh, I can't wait to do this work. Sign me up, get me on board, let me do that. But I think this like other unnecessary work that we're actually talking about it has just kind of made my ability to show up for everything that I want to be and do, a lot more compromising. So I love the idea of not having to do the work that I'm fucking obsessed with and that tortures me for long enough to be able to do all the other wonderful, loving, present stuff that I'm here to do.
What struck me, I know you got to go, and we were just keep going and going. But what struck me while you were talking is we get so wrapped up in doing the work that we continue to do the work, even past the point of because we like doing the work and we think there's more for us to do. And there always is, but it's like if you do workout, like actual physical workouts, right? Like, and if you work out every single fucking day, you're going to burn yourself out. Your body actually needs a day of rest. You cannot work out every single day. You have to like give yourself time to heal so that you could process it and then build more muscle. Like, so you need to relax to build more muscle. So you have, I think, burnt yourself out.
Yeah. Well, the process, the what's burnt out is the ability was the ability to tell what work was valuable work or important work or just the ability to tell the priorities. So that's a sign of burnout. It's like like where do I even begin? And the process of since I moved in October, the process has very much been one of streamlining and letting certain things go and letting other things go. But what I think you're reading into is during this retrograde, few weeks ago was when I had this back injury that led me to undertake all of these different processes to literally lighten my load. Because I would say if I have a crisis or if I've had a crisis in my life, a crisis of awareness, it was not necessarily being able to tell what work to do because I would rather just fucking be creating because creating doesn't feel like work to me. Right? So, this was going to lead me. I actually do just want to ask you about this. Can you just tell me about the wall for a second? I really do actually want to know about this. So Diva, you did it closed now, right? Though
it's done. Yeah. I built a wall that it took me a couple years to figure out how to do it. I've been saying I was walking around saying to like anyone who would listen for years, I want to build a wall. I want to build a wall. And then one day I realized I was like, oh, I sound like someone. And then I realized I was like, oh, but my wall was not about separation. It's about connection, because this is why I like think this came through me was because it was such a, there was such a divide. There is such a divide and there was such force with which he was building this thing to make a point that like, I don't think no one wants. Anyway, so like
no, because it was also just cognitive. It wasn't even a good wall.
No, yeah. So I realized it helped me hone. Like I wanted to build a wall that is about connection. So and oddly, I ended up building this wall during COVID. And it's actually, it was a COVID friendly as a art exhibit could be for COVID. But it was a COVID friendly exhibit because the wall is to be experienced by two people at a time. And it was wider at one end and I made it with chicken wire and paper mache. So I made it with my hands, and like
Wow.
I like layers and layers of newspaper. It was all newspaper from 2020. So from February of 2020 all the way to October 7th of 2020, which I didn't realize till later is the anniversary of my mom's passing. During that time, all of the newspapers in the year of 2020, so many things happened,
Right.
and it was all in this wall. And then I painted it white because I wanted to there was so much distraction and noise coming from the newspapers that you couldn't actually connect through it. So I painted it white to clear the slate. And then I put my handprints on the wall. It was bigger at one end. And as you walk down the wall, you'd walk down as a pair. So there'd be a bell that would ring, and you'd start it on the first pair of hands. So one person on one side of the wall, one person on the other. And the bell would ring. They start here. Time would pass, the bell would ring again, you move to the next hand. And as the bell rings, you move to the next pair of hands. And then as the bell rings, you go to the next pair of hands until finally you were touching hand to hand at the end. Pure connection, true connection.
That's so lovely.
Yeah. But it was it's a visual thing, because when you look at the wall, you don't realize where what's
going to happen. Oh, and I wanted to use a great word when you were talking about painting it white. I was like, did she purify it? But no, it's not purification, because you're not actually removing anything. You're consecrating it. You're blessing it. You're blessing it and saying, you are in here, but this has a different purpose.
I don't ever want to disregard an experience, especially something that even as traumatic as the year that we've had, or like anything, it all adds up to who you are and your experiences. And so I don't want to disregard any aspect. Like I was upset when people were making dumpster fire jokes about 2020. Like I don't agree. I think it was like a blessing. Even, I know I've said this before, but just there's so much there that we got to learn from, and we wouldn't be who we are today, and the understandings that we have and the experiences that we've had, and the outrage and the more deeper awareness that we all have because of the experiences that have happened through 2020 in all aspects of the year,
But I think making an art piece like this too supports people in the next phase of our healing also, which is not just what's next, but what just happened, what is happening, what did we learn? Because you do feel this pace of so many just trying to move on, or as so many have said, get back to normal. But to me, it's I'm never going to be the same. I'm fundamentally changed. So there does feel like there's a part of me trying to preserve, or I'm saying, sort of honor what I know that's kind of come out of this. And I just thought that was such a beautiful way of removing the distraction, or kind of breaking the cycle of the news, and yet you're still giving it its place, which is like it or not, these things kept us apart at first. And, at least in this space, it's bringing us together.
And the fact that the piece was chicken wire, the wall was permeable. So it's all about the walls that we actually put up as well. We think they're sturdy. We think they are very, very strong, but actually we can break through and connect through any sense, any wall. That's the other thing. I wanted this to be a piece that people could walk down and experience to learn how to connect, even when they think that there's something between you physically or not.
It's so it's hard for me to not at least just call out that you were making medicine, and that this was a spell, and that this was some kind of grid work, because you're basically creating something that seems to be opaque, that actually affirms connectivity, as opposed to this fucking border wall, which is actually hollow, that is reinforcing separation, right? Whoa. So that, to me, and then getting people to charge that shit with their love and energy and just presence, not even love and just presence, being there together.
And open to it, actually trying it out and doing it. It was such a profound experience to see people do it.
And I love that too, because like I said, as we go forward, it's especially when there's a piece that surprises you or changes you, that you actually want to explain to someone, even that's a part of their COVID year now. you know, that's a part of something that someone will be able to bring forward and say like, oh my God, it felt so fucking terrible until we went to this thing, and at the end of it, my lover's hand or my buddy's hand, or
Yeah.
so powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. I'm really glad we got to talk about it.
Me too.
Okay, so we're gonna wrap up now, but last thing we do here is yumminess. Anything on this earth plane which is making you feel transcendental and divine. Yeah.
What?
Well, I was going to show you that I have this piece of hematite, which was gifted to me by Paula from Alegria on Larchmont, which is now closed on Larchmont, but which she gifted me right before I headed across the country. And it's cool because it's like a hematite lava bubble.
It's amazing.
And it's been really, it's something of the earth that's kept me anchored this week while all this emotional shrapnel has been going all over the place. And so it's let me feel kind of divine because it's kept me here.
It's super, super strong. It's super, super healing and protective, by the way. Like I just realized something. I don't like the super protective stones because they make me feel locked in. And like I was getting a stomach ache looking at it because it's that's how powerful that stone is.
Wow.
It just made me realize like, oh, because I hate black tourmaline because there's so much fear based in it because like it is the stone that you use to ward off like and protect yourself from stuff.
Everything.
So yeah, so I'm like, I don't like it at all. Like, no thanks. Not like, nope.
What's your sun sign?
I'm a Leo, but I'm a Aquarius rising, and I'm a Libra moon. I'm a tricky one.
Tricky. I wouldn't try to read your astrology right now, but I was just like with the tummy ache from the hematite, I was like, there's gotta be an Aquarius in there somewhere.
Yeah, I have such a stomach ache right now. I can't stop showing it to me. Like it like
I won't show it to you anymore. I'm sorry.
like it's like literally it's like that is not what makes me feel divine at all.
Not good to know.
Stone wise?
No, anything. Anything. Snacks could be walking. You told me you've been walking.
Honestly, so I what has been making my day and making me so happy, aside from the cutest noises that my dogs make, I'm obsessed with, I got for Christmas, I got an Oculus, which is like a VR situation. I'm not a VR person, but I'm obsessed with, there's an app on there called Supernatural. And then there's also the Beat Saber game. So anything that's like you're playing drums, I'm obsessed with. And that's also like, when I don't know if you know this, I ran the LA Marathon and I'm not a runner. Like yeah. So like 2019, I ran the LA Marathon and I just started running in January and the marathon was in March. And I was like, fuck it, I'm just going to do it. So, but the only thing that would keep me going, like I'd be really exhausted on the run, but then I would hear, cause as you like run through like areas, there's people playing music, live music. There's like some people run with like beads and like shakers on their ankles and stuff, but anything where there was a beat, I would just keep going. If there was a drum beat, I was like, yes. So so I haven't been like out in the world because of quarantine and stuff. So I haven't running on the street because I don't breathe well with a mask and running, but I get like the same kind of happiness and joy and exuberance from Beat Saber. And because it is literally, you have these lightsabers and you are hitting these things that come at you as if you were a drummer, and you're terrible at it at first and continue to be, but maybe one day I'll be good. And it's so fun. So that makes me happy.
I've seen someone play it. I always remind people that like, it's an analogy I use sometimes, that like something like Beat Saber or like Guitar Hero is something you want to be good at, but like not too good at. Because if you're, this sounds different because at least you're like moving all over the place and actually like moving your whole body while you're doing it.
You're ducking and you're moving. I'm laughing so hard. It's so stupid. And you can record yourself doing it.
Really? So you can see yourself.
Well, as the avatar.
Oh, as the avatar. Fun.
Yeah, because it records what you're looking at. But you could also, if you wanted to set up your phone and watch yourself doing it in real life,
I should do that because it is so awkward.
I love it. It's good. Keep it interesting and keep it loose and keep it light and keep moving. I think that's so important.
Yeah, so I think that is what's been keeping me happy, is just
That will do it.
super goofball stuff like that.
One more question, just because we've already gone over and I want to ask you one more question. What is your like most comforting food, either now or like a comforting food memory, like something that either made you feel really safe or something that was special, or like any fond memories or relationships with like meals or flavors?
Okay, so I have a couple.
Mhm.
My Sundays
Mm.
are for popovers.
Wow, that's badass. You have the pan and everything?
Of course I do, and I'm good
course.
at making them. So yeah, my mom taught me. Her dad taught her, and so my mom taught me. But I ended up like whenever I make them, they pop up, but they turn into little animals. Like literally, like when I make them, they morph and have like bird beaks and like other things pop out of it too.
Whoa.
So but popovers are like a family Sunday tradition and treat.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
And I also will share that a family, these are things that I make. So I took on my dad had he went to the Brown Derby and he had a piece of grapefruit cake from there, brought it home and made my mom's mom, so my grandmother, figure out how to make it. So it became a family tradition to make a grapefruit cake. And now I make them and they're amazing.
Wow. Is it like upside down cake, or is the grapefruit in it?
Honestly, it's the easiest thing in the world. You take a box cake. You could do a cake from scratch, but you take a yellow box cake, like a Duncan Hines or Betty Crocker cake. And it's the one that requires water. Okay.
Right.
So
just so you know, I have 2 grapefruits in the fridge and a box of yellow cake that I bought today.
Well, you can make this. You might need a 3rd grapefruit, but you can make this.
Keep going. Tell me.
So what you do is I usually split or do most instead of water, I do grapefruit juice from the grapefruit. So you peel the grapefruit, like, and you know how when you like cut open a grapefruit, it has the skin on it still?
Yeah.
You want to get the meat of the grapefruit out.
Got it.
So that is the most time consuming. You have to love someone a lot to do this cake because it is so time consuming. You get the meat out of the grapefruit. You put it aside, you let the juice drip out of it, take the liquid that drips out of the meat of the grapefruit, measure that, see how much liquid it is, put it into the cake. And then you add the water that you need to make the correct amount of liquid in the cake, right?
Yeah.
And then you bake the cake. And it's usually a 2-layer thing that I do, but if you don't want to do the 2-layer, so I do a 2-layer cake. So then when the cake comes out of the oven, you make your frosting. I do like buttercream frosting, and I put a chunk or 2 or 3, whatever I think I can spare of the meat into the frosting. So that makes the frosting a little bit pink, and it's very cute.
Pinky. Yeah, flecky, little pink, flecks of pink.
Totally. And then you do a layer of the frosting on the, first layer of the cake, put grapefruit meat in the center, put the second cake on top, frost the fucker, meat on top.
Oh, it's probably so pretty too.
It is so pretty. It also can look like a tuna cake. Sorry.
Tuna cake. Maguro cake. They've got to have that somewhere in the world, like a sushi cake.
Sorry. It is not, but visually, some people are like, is that tuna? I'm like, no, it's grapefruit.
Do not make you a tuna cake with like wasabi frosting, wasabi buttercream.
Terrible.
Gross.
But yeah, so and make sure that when you do your frosting, I don't do it super sweet because I like a little bit of a twangy, tarty situation.
Totally.
But balance your flavors out. That's
I
it.
feel
That's
that. I love that so much. And because they look like jewels too. And the pink of just very sparkly and shiny.
Yeah.
Well, I'm even more glad that I asked you this question.
I know you've got it at home already. Go make it.
Thank you so much for joining us today for the Edible Spirit Hour.
I love you.
I love you. This was really fun. Thank you so much. So where can we find you? What's your website? Tell us again.
Divazappa.com is my website.
Yeah.
And then I'm also on Instagram at Diva Zappa, but my tarot is at Magica Tarot, and that's my middle name. My mom gave it to me when I was 16. She woke up, she was like, I know what your name is, and put it on my birth certificate at 16.
Wow. She figured it out. Oh my God, I love your mom.
Finally just decided, oh, that's who you are. It took 16 years.
That's perfect. Any sooner, at least, yeah, she just needed to be sure before she went.
Totally. And I think the weird thing is that her adding my middle name didn't change my numerology on my name.
Oh, wild.
I think.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I think I did that once. I don't know if I did it right, but however I did it, that happened. So I mean,
it reset the clock on your name. So the numerology lined up. Wow, that's so cool.
But it was already the numbers didn't change. Like Diva Zappa is the same as Diva Magica Zappa.
Right, because the name in the middle basically brought you back to wherever you were. You added the value on. It's the difference for me if I use my middle name or not, right? It changes it because when you add it in, but I have a long ass name. Anyway, thank you for this, Diva. This has been a real treat, a real pleasure. Love you so much. So everybody find Diva at
Magika.
Magika Tarot, Tarot. That's at Magica Tarot on Instagram, Diva Zappa on Instagram, divazappa.com. We'll be back next week with another episode of the Edible Spirit Hour. Till then, you can find us also on Instagram at Edible Spirit and ediblespirit.com. There's all sorts of links. I'll be putting links to Diva stuff up there too. So by all means, come and find us there. And until next time, thank you for joining us. You are so damn delicious. And we love you very much.
The Edible Spirit.